Okay, so we're going to Bez Hashem start a new parak today. Second parak, a very beautiful. Hayashen tachas hamita. This sukkah, someone sleeps underneath a bed in a sukkah. Lo yotze yidei chavasa. He's not yotze his chiyuv. He's not yotze his chiyuv. Rashi says the oil mafsik beinoy l'sukkah, because the bed is considered an oil. It's a partition, and it's massive between him and the sukkah. The yeshivas sukkah achila shtia b'sheina, and the yeshiva sukkah is achila shtia b'sheina. So if someone sleeps under the sukkah, he has a chiyuv of sheina. He's not yotze his chiyuv of sheina. Rashi tells us he's not yotze. Very interesting. It doesn't say someone eats underneath a bed, right? Because you're not supposed to keep food under the bed, right? We saw Gemara Pesachim, right? You're not supposed to keep food in bed. It's not kind of Arei Pesachim. Nothing good happens with that.
It also puts in the same category as eating, sleeping.
Of course it is.
Yeah, I know.
It is. It's the shua came to do. Okay, that's a different Indian. Rav Yehuda says Rav Yehuda, we were knowing to sleep on the meat of Neis Cain in front of us. Cain and It didn't say anything to us. As we're going to see in the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion that a sukkah has got to be a diras keva. That's the Mishnah, right? He says that if it's more than 20 tefachim high, it is good. He also the shlu is a diras keva, and an oil of meat is portable, so it's a diras aroi. So a diras aroi can't be mavatal a diras keva, and therefore it's not like an oil is there. He has and therefore that's the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Okay. Reb Shimon, Maisa b'Tavi Avdei Sherav Gamliel. There was a Maisa with Tavi, the Eved of Gamliel. Shayashin Tachas Hamita. He was sleeping underneath the bed. But Rabbi Gamliel, the Zakanim, Gamliel said to Zakanim, Yisim Tavi Avdi. You see Tavi my Eved, Shu Talmid Chacham, B'Yadeya Shavadim B'Tur Min HaSukkah. The Fikr Yashin Tachas Hamita. So being a Maisa to substantiate the first thing. Now, there's different categories of people. Of course, we make a bracha every day, Shleisani Goy. We also make a bracha Shleisani Oved, and we also make a bracha Shleisani Isha. So you see, an Eved is more than a Goy. In fact, an Eved, Kanani, is Mechuyev Mitzvah Isha. And the famous K'zer Sheva, Lo Lo Mi Isha. V'chupsan Lo V'chasav Lo Sefer Krisis Lo Lo. We darshan that what. So just like a woman is pata from a sukkah, because it's a mitzvah essay Shazman Grama, that's contingent upon time. Who adin an Eved is pata from a sukkah. So what would happen? What was he doing in the sukkah at all? He was a Talmud Chacham, and he wanted to hear the words of the Zakanim. He wanted to hear the words of the Zakanim. But if he was taking up space there, he would go underneath what? Underneath the bed. And from that incident, we see that someone sleeps underneath the bed is pata. Says the Gemara. What v'haleka asara? If you sleep underneath the bed, why you're not yotzi yidei chavasai? You don't have 10 tefachim. So Tirgum Shmuel the mita asara. Shmuel's mitargim with the mita of that 10. That it's 10 tefachim high between you and the bed. Now, if I would ask you, whatever we've learned this in this Masech, if I would say, what's the share you need to be considered a hafsaka? What would you tell me? One tefach. We want to say one tefach, right? We spoke about a mace. It's chaytis mithayatama. A tefach is the shear of an oil, right? A tefach. So where all of a sudden does Gemara expect 10? Where does the Gemara expect 10? So you might remember, and if you don't, I'll remind you. Go to Perik Yud, the Daf Yud. Daf Yud. Kam Yehi, about 10 lines down. Kam Yehi ben sukkah sukkah. We speak, this is the sukkah guys of a sukkah tachas a sukkah. What's the share? The hey tachtayna besula. I'm rafuna tefach. It's a tefach. No, it's the upper sukkah. Is a tefach. We spoke out. It just has to have a shame sukkah. It doesn't have to be royal ladira. Oh, a tefach. Shekem etzina ba'olei tuma tefach. We find a link to a tefach. Next case. Next, Rav Chisda Rabbi Rav Chuna Amar Arba. Shlemetzinu Malkum Chashav Pachas Me'arba. Ushmuel Amar Asara. And Shmuel says 10. My time in the Shmuel, Kech Sheiro Kach Pesula. The Hechsher of Sukkah, the minimal amount is 10 Tfachim. Kach hechshera, the psula is 10 tefachim. So this will be very good. Tirgum Shmuel b'mita asara. This could be Shmuel l'shit haso. Shmuel holds that what the sukkah tachas a sukkah. The shear is what is 10. So if you let's see Taisvis, Hayashan tachas amita b'sukkah liyatzi dechavasei. The first Taisvis, the Gemara mukila. The Gemara will establish Shmuel b'gavay asara. The pachas mikan lechashav oil lahafsik. Umetzina l'neima the Shmuel tamei. It's possible to say Shmuel's going according to his reasoning. The machshav perakama tachtona kashem bel yoina asara. If you don't have in the upper 110, so that'll be good. Aval le'enach amaroi the pasni mishum del yoina kashiva oil afal b'shein gavay yud who adin the chashav oil lahafsik. So like the first opinion it will be a tefach, second opinion will be 4 tefachim, right? So says Tosfos v'shema mita shiny. Perhaps mita is different. Perhaps mita is different. In other words, that even the ones who hold sukkah tachas a sukkah to tefach or 4 tefachim, right? Over here they would say mita is different, and therefore you would need 10. Kidama b'gemara davle mita oil aroi hilkach kula moida de v'pachas me'asara lav klami. Guys, the mita is very, very. It's not in one spot. It's kind of portable. It's a bed. So the fact that it's portable takes away from the fact that it's considered to be an oil. An oil is something usually like a space of permanence, correct? So says Tosfos, perhaps we can suggest that even according to other man the Omer who hold sukkah tachas sukkah, which is stagnant in one spot, right? They're matefach, they're 4 tefachim. But we see that this is an oil aroi. It's an oil that is what is temporary, right? So therefore, they also. So this 10 is lav dafka only according to Shmuel. Ken Zayin is according to the other ones as well. That's Tosfos. Be aware, the Rif holds the psula of mita in the sukkah is the din of psula of sukkah tachas sukkah. He holds and therefore that's the Gemara's kasha. V'olaka Sarah, you don't have 10. It's a funny. Like Tosfos, guys, it's a funny question. Why do you assume that you need 10? Well, I could just easily assume 1 tefach or 4 tefachim. Like the Gemara, before you introduce Shmuel, you said, "I volek asara." Like the Rif, it's geschmack. If the psul is not oil, if the psul is sukkah tachas sukkah, you need 10. Because what's the middle share of a sukkah? 10. And it was we geschmack the kasha, right? Would fit good. What's somebody asking? Why is it puzzle? Why is it puzzle? Okay, so yesh. So these are 2 different drachim I had to learn in the kasha. Okay, now again, the psul, he holds the psul of mita is a sukkah tachas a sukkah. In other words, just like a sukkah tachas a sukkah is puzzle, so too this is a puzzle. Where do you have 10? I mean, you need 10. Where do you see an oil is 10? Where do you see an oil is 10? Sorry, it's crazy. It goes through the, I don't know why I use a phone connected to the computer. What? It shouldn't be, but it is, and I have no idea. Someone gave it to me. I won't tell you who, Steve Yellow, and I don't know how to use it, and it's a shter. Right? Okay.
Can I say?
You hear the kasha?
No. If it's much,
You're saying it's a covering. You have a covering over here. So good. It's not a good covering. We're saying it's puzzle sukkah and a sukkah. So whatever it is, that's the same gather. That's what the Rif wants to say. Or else, what's the kasha of Rami? Sarah. It's an oil. Why do you need a Sarah? What's the Gemara's kasha? What's the Gemara's kasha? Bishleim, if you tell me it's a din in sukkah, I got a share of Asara. But if you don't tell me it's a din in sukkah, I don't. Okay, we're going to go again. I don't know. Okay, anyway, the rest, because the first part of the Gemara is figuring out this din of oil. A bunch of different pictures and crevices and different things. Benji will call out. I don't have the book. Benji will call it out. For the guys online, I'm gonna use another book. You can call it out. Call it out. You want? Yes, call it out. Okay.
Page 71.
Page 71. What are we looking at? Says the Gemara. Tan Hassam. This is a Mishnah in Oilis. What does the Mishnah in Oilis say? Echad chur shecharua mayim. Whether it's a hole that was started as a result of water, whether it's a hole that was started as a result of water.
255.
Okay, picture 255. Oy shratzim, or it was a result that was done by shratzim. You had shratzim there, and they went ahead and they dug the hole, right? You had shratzim digging the hole. V'chein midbach avonim, if you have a pile of avonim and you have a tefach in there, v'chein sayer shel kairis, you have a pile of wood and you have in there you have that shear, right? Mala ala tuma, if you have something that is there if you have something that's there that is an amma, if you have something that's an amma, or not an amma, I keep saying a tefach. You have a tefach, right? If you have a tefach over there, it's going to be what? It's going to be, and you have something that's Torah there. You have something that's Torah there, it's going to be what? It's going to be a problem. Meaning it's going to be tamei. It does a tefach over there. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, what does Rabbi Yehuda say? Rabbi Yehuda says, Kol oil shein asi b'dei adam ein oil. Any oil that's not made b'dei adam is not a good oil. Any oil that's not made b'dei adam is not a good oil. Okay, it's just not a good oil. It doesn't work. Okay. What? A tree could be an oil. What? Okay, so a tree could be an oil, but again, if you have a mace underneath the tree, a piece of mace underneath the tree could be by the same. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, this not to say that it's not so pashut, guys. It's not so pashut. I'm getting rid of this. It's driving me crazy. Okay, so it's not so pashut. I'll give you an example. The Anania covered was not man-made. Yet it's an oil. So the Shur Mitzvah Melacha brings down the Aruch LaNer. The Aruch LaNer says what over here, what it means is, it means that it has to be made, it's lav dafka be the Adam, but it has to be the shame oil. It's lav dafka, but it has to be the shame oil. And we're going to see why. Where does Rabbi Yehuda learn it from? Rabbi Yehuda, kol oil shein asi b'dei adam ein oil. My time with Rabbi Yehuda. What's Rabbi Yehuda's reasoning? So Yalef oil mi Mishkan. He learns oil from the Mishkan. Ksiv Chachet says Zaysa Torah Adam Kiyamas Boil and Pashas Chukas. Ksiv Hasam, and it says Vayifrei says oil al Mishkan. And Moshe spread the oil on the Mishkan. Ma'ala halim b'dei Adam, just like Moshe was b'dei Adam, made the oil. He spread the oil on Urias on top. Avkan b'dei Adam, so to over here what? B'dei Adam. And the Rabbanan who disagree with Rabbi Yehuda, oil riba. So we don't paskin like Rabbi Yehuda. We paskin like the Rabbanan. So that would answer your question by oil. Oil riba, we're marba many oilim. Okay. Now, this is very, very interesting. So according to Aruch LaNer, guys, listen to this very geschmack of Pshat. He says, how does he say it? It says, Rabbi Yehuda says it has to be made b'dei Adam, right? So what about that Anania covered? There was an oil. So now the Mishkan, it says by the Mishkan, who come on Mishkan? It doesn't say Moshe couldn't put it up. It was too heavy. So Kadosh Baruch Hu told him, what? You do what you do, and I'll help you. So Hukah means the Rashi brings at the end that it was put up by itself. Moshe would do the crushing, and all of a sudden they would go on. Moshe would all of a sudden go on. So what do you see? That it's not an Adam that's making it, right? See, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is making it, but it's being made the same oil. So that's the Kiddush over here. Yeah, that's the Pshat over here. It's lav dafka that the person has to do it. It has to be made the same oil for haraya from the Mishkan. Rabbi Yehuda Guf is bringing a raya from the Mishkan. He's raya from the Mishkan. I'm telling you, the Mishkan, like the lumdis, was not made b'dei Adam. It was too heavy. It was too heavy because Baruch Hu had to help him. So what do you see? That had to be the same oil. That's like Aruch LaNer's Pshat over here. Okay, and the Chacham they say riba in the parshas of Paraduma with the mace. It says oil many times, and we read marba all types of oil, even ones that'll be the Adam.
The Chiddush is there's Adam involved in it.
It seems to be the Adam involved, but the Chiddush is that it has to be the same oil. Whoever's doing it, right? Even Adam's not involved. Anania covered. It has to be done the same oil. The Anania covered was the same oil. Okay, fellas, we had this in Masechta Yuma, or the first daf in Masechta Yuma. There's a machlokes between the Tzaddikim and Klal Yisrael. Exactly the paraduma, exactly what had to be done. The Tzaddikim held that you had to be tahor to do the paraduma. We say tahor mechal the tamei, that a full yom could do it. So what would they do? They would be metama Mitamas Machloikis, the Rambam and Taisus says it was Tumah Rabbanon. The Rambam says Mamish Tumah Deraisa. They put it in the mikvah, and that kohen would then go ahead and do what? He would go ahead and perform the burning of the paraduma and so forth. Because we're metamas somebody, right? They made tremendous milas about the paraduma. There's tremendous milas. In other words, chumra. What comes to mind is that even though in our levels of Tchulin is a Rishon and Sheni, and Shum is a Shlishi, and Kochim is Revi, paraduma will be even the extent of a Chamishi. Crazy, mamish. They were such chumras. One of the milas that they did was these kids. This is a crazy story. If you look on the picture, they have a picture. They made these chatzeros in Yerushalayim, which I'm trying to get on the screen, and I'm not being successful. They had these chatzeros in Yerushalayim that they would have, and these chatzeros. Hey, you got it over here. You got it over here. This chatzer in Yerushalayim, they built underneath a crevice. Here, they put these kids. They had these kids underneath a crevice that was a tefach long. What was the purpose of that? They wanted to ensure that there'd not be tumas hatahoim. Tumas hatahoim is the suffix tuma. You don't know unless you know from the beginning of time. Unless you know from the beginning of time, from Ma'aseh Bereshis, that there wasn't anyone buried there. You don't know what's underneath there, and tuma can go up. So they have an area that's a chol tefach, and if it goes up, it stops it. It's a chol tefach, it stops it. That's what they would have. They'd raise these kids from the time they're born until they're 8 years old, 7, 8 years old. 7, 8 years old already, it seems they worry about carry, and therefore, but until they're 7, 8 years old, the woman would give birth there. They would live in this chatzerim, and when they would go ahead and draw water from for the paraduma, they put these kids on these shvarim, and we're going to have this whole elaborate Gemara. And in the Gemara, we're going to ask on Rabbi Yehuda, how can you say that you need an oil to be B'mei Adam, but you end up with an axe being an oil? The axe sitting is going to be oil. It's not B'mei Adam. Okay, that's the basic Gemara. It says the Gemara. Sub Rabbi Yehuda, kol oil sheina asi b'dei Adam eina oil uriminu. Chetzeris hayu b'nusi b'Yerushalayim. You have a picture of that, Baruch? Chetzeris hayu b'nusi b'Yerushalayim. Agabe hasela. There was courtyards in Yerushalayim that were built on top of a cellar. And underneath this chatzah, there was a chalul, there was a space. If they kevat the hoim to be a hafsaka between kevat the hoim. Again, once you have a chalul tefach, it's mafsik between any tumah that's boikeya that goes and it rises up. Umevi and nashim ubrais, they were being pregnant woman there. V'yoldei sham, they would give birth there in these chatzeros. Umegadlus b'neim sham lepara, and they raised their children there to do the service of the para. Umevi and shvarim, and they would bring oxen, and on the top of the oxen they would put doors, guys. They would put the doors on top of the oxen, and that would be what a hafsaka between what, as they're going to go ahead draw the water, they'd have these doors. So therefore there'd be an airspace between the bottom and the door to be an oil. Right? Right, tumas space, right? Tumas space. Right, no, right, tumas space. What? What? Whether it was the fathers, well, I guess where were the fathers? What do you mean? They were living there, I assume. Okay, so that if you look at Taisvis, why? No, you don't have to apologize. You just, I mean, everyone hates you now because they're looking at Taisvis. But anyway, but if you look at the second Taisvis. The boy has Zah, right? When we tuma yotzim migufay, going about carry, kidetanya b'tesefta, shey magdil and I say at you ben sheva shanim shmeina layoisish layira carry. Okay, so that's another mile, guys. By the way, we say the Gemara Nida says Balkari is at 9 years old. This is another mile. You're worrying by the age of 7 or 8. It's another mile of what? So that answers your question. Okay, so it's a good question, back. Okay, so now so very geschmack. So they have these kids on these racks, and now they put the doors. The tinokas yoshin al gabeim, but koises shel evan biyadayim. They had koises of evan in the hands. Again, another mila, guys. Evan is not makabel tumah. A kli evan is not makabel tumah. Higil shiluach. They come to the river, the stream, the shiluach, where they draw water for. And yordu l'toich hamayim. They would go down to right umilam. They would go off the shvarim, go down and fill it up. They wouldn't even go off. They would go ahead and draw the water from the back of the ox. And then machloikas between Rashi and Taisus over here exactly if there's an isser of them going ahead and what's the isser that you're not able to draw it. You need miloid to fill. They have to fill it up. The Taisus says that they're worried about tumas at the home, that little bit where they're walking. The Tanya Rabbi Yehuda says they didn't bring doors. So in other words, that they sat on the shar. They sat on the shar, and the shar would be what? Would be an oil. Fred the Gemara, Bashfarim the oil shein to be the Adam who, it's not maybe the Adam, according to the Noach L'ner Regeshmak. I mean, guys, you don't need to be the Adam, but it's not made for the purpose of an oil. Right? You don't need to be the Adam, but it's not made for the purpose of an oil. So why would it work? And for the Gemara, Kiyasar of Dimi, when he came up from Eretz Yisrael, Amar Rabbi Lazar, he said the name of Rabbi Lazar, who was the Talmud of Rabbi Yochanan, Moeder of Yehuda, Kimali Egreif. Now there's a shear of Mali Egreif. Mali Egreif is the fistful. In other words, it's bigger than a tefach. So when does Rabbi Yehuda say that an oil that's bidei adam is not an oil? That's if it's a tefach. If it's a shear of Mali Egreif, then what? Then it is a good oil, even though it's made what? Not made bidei adam. Even though it's not made bidei adam, the shar is Mali tefach, and therefore it will be good. Tanya Mihachi, Moeder of Yehuda b'shekifim, who've in the kikin. There's different holes that are man-made, not man-made. 259. Picture by page. 72. Page 72. Pictures 259. And Slayim, they're moided by these crevices that they're good. Why? Because these crevices, guys, are all mali egrif. They're all bigger than a fist. Fred Gemara Vari Delis the Yeshbo Kame Grifin. Guys, so you have a shar. Guys, look, my hands are shar. You see my hands are shar? My hands are shar. And the kids are sitting right here. And this is my hands are shar. This is the kids are sitting right over here, right? And that's me mafsik. He said you don't use doors, right? Let's say my elbow to my hand's a door. Now between my elbow and the door and the floor, is a lot of mali egresh. So why did Rabbi Yehuda say you can't use a door? If Rabbi Yehuda says that mali egresh, that it's okay, so why didn't it use a door? Apparently a door would be a very good afsaka. It's a lot of mali egresh, it's a lot of fistfuls and from the ground until the doors. So what's the reason? Amar Abaya tuturutzim lehutzuchu lehevi dlasais. Meaning, not that dlasais wouldn't be good. It's not necessary to bring the dlasais. It's unnecessary. In other words, they're fine. They'll be okay. It's unnecessary to bring them. Rava Amar lehoyim evim dlasais kalika. You know why? They should daita shaltina gagasa love. Shema yotzi roisha ya echem evarav v'yitma b'keva tohoyim. Guys, I imagine if you would go bungee jumping, you might be a little scared, right? You might be a little scared, especially if it's 265 feet straight down to a ravine. I don't know any crazy kid who would do it. 2 weeks before his wedding, and a little nuts, right? What happens if until you jump, there's nothing blocking you? As the rope is not attached. I would think when the rope's attached, you're a little more confident. And when the rope's not attached, you're not so confident, right? So these kids are riding on the back of a shark, yeah? I would think the shark is jerking back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. What are these kids doing? They're holding on for their life in this shark. Go ahead and put a platform on there. I would assume that gives them a little more confidence. What might they do? Go ahead onto the slice and peer off the end. And what might happen? Zetz, zoom. So in other words, says Rava, they didn't use the lasais not because it's not a good hafsaka oil. Of course it's a good oil, but they didn't want the kids straying from the ox itself because the whole purpose is to avoid tumas at the home. So it's a very good, kids are kids, right? And then that's what they might do. It's a very good shmak. Tani Kavase de Rava. So we have two terutzim. Abaya, you don't have to bring it. And Rava, no. Rava says, no, you can't bring it. Why you bring it? Because you're going to end up with the same problem that you wanted to avoid in the first place. You're going to end up with kids, chas v'shalom, that are tamei. Tani Kavase the Rava. They didn't bring the lasais at all. They should die to shaltina gatsa love. The tinok is It's full of themselves. They're confident. Shema Yotzi Roisha Yechem Eivarov. Maybe they'll go ahead and peer either the head or one of the Eivarim. The Yitma B'Keva Hatohain. Ella Mevi'in Shvarim Mitzrayim. They were being Egyptian oxen. Shekreisai Seyem Rechoybais. They had the Gezunta Festa oxen, right? Vatinoikis Yeshua al Gabehem, and the Tinoikis would sit on top of them. The Koises shall even be Yadayim, and they had Koises of stone in their hands. Like again, to avoid Tumah, the stones that become Tameh. Higil Shiluach Yardu, they would go down, Umalu, V'olu, V'yashulahem al Gabehem. Right? Okay, that's what they did. That's good. Everything's great. Now, Fred Gemara Vayamita, the Yeshba Kamek Greifim. So l'chayra, why? According to Rabbi Yehuda, it should be a good oil. There are many guys. There are many things going up, right? Many agrifim from the bottom till the base of the bed, to the ropes of the bed. And Rabbi Yehuda says they used to sleep under it. So what do you see? That even though it's mali agrif, even though it's mali agrif, it's still not a good afsaka. And tomorrow shiny mito hoil v'legaba asuya. It's not made for the purpose of an oil. It's made for tops, guys, not made for bottoms. So therefore, Rabbi Yehuda had said, you know, you sleep underneath the bed. It's very geschmack with the oil flaner. It wasn't made the shame oil. It's made to shame sleeping on top. Fed the Gemara, shvar nami legaba asuyim. A shor is not made to go under the shor. It's made for what? The top. Kiyasaravin am Rabbi Loza shiny shvarim hoil meginim ala royim b'chama v'neachama ub'gsham v'neacham. It seemed to be that they would go under the ox to go ahead and protect themselves from the weather. So therefore, what? Yeah, they were brave individuals, right? And they would go, so they use it as an oil. So if you're telling me that in other words, even though it's made on top, but there's a usage for the bottom, so mita as well, even though it's made for on top, there's a usage on the bottom. You put your shoes underneath there. Back to the same question. Why does Rabbi Yehuda say mita is not an oil? There's plenty of mali agrifim until you get to the top. El Amarava, shiny shvarim, hoil vasuyim lehegin al bnei me'ayim shelahem. Guys, you learned that the oil of the ox was the bottom of the ox and the ear space underneath. It's not true. The ox, the oil is the spinal column, and the meat underneath, that's what it's for, as it says. It's there to go ahead and protect their kishkis. Shenemar or ubasa talbisheni, or in basa you clothe me, uba'atzos v'gidim t'seicheni, and on bones and gidim you have got t'seicheni, you have the lashon of schach. So one teretz is, guys, einachinami. It's made for al gabav. The meat is made for al gabav. Since the meat is made for al gabav, guys, then what? Then therefore Rabbi Yehuda holds is not an oil. An ox is made for al gabav. An ox also is an oil. What's an oil? It's oil on its innards, based upon its. Rabbi is saying, Rabbi Yehuda tamei, and this is why we introduced in the Mishnah. Rabbi Yehuda goes according to this reasoning. Damar sukkah diras keva beinin. Sukkah, you need a diras keva. V'havile mita diras aroi. The sukkah oil keva. V'yasi oil aroi. Uvatal oil keva. Very geschmack, guys, right? The first Mishnah in Masechta. Sukkah she gavoya me esamam psula. Rabbi Yehuda machshir. What do we say? Rabbi Yehuda says that a diras keva. So therefore, the sukkah is a diras keva. What do you have? What's a mita? It's an oil. It's not an oil, but it's an oil aroi. An oil aroi can be mevatel that, and therefore that's a shita. So forget the teretz of what? Al gabav. Forget that teretz. You have another teretz. The teretz is that what? Also oil aroi mevatel what? I guess the second teretz. The first teretz is what? Is al gabav. You don't have to come on to it. This is the second teretz. Now, for Reb Shimon Dama Nami Sukkah Diras Keva Beinin, Reb Shimon holds that what? That you need a Diras Keva. Guys, we saw earlier in the Masechta, Yesh Aim Limit the Mikra. Sukkah. 6 minus 2 is 4. Minus 1 for itself. You need 3. Halacha Moshe Sinai, 3, you add 1. How are we doing? Ari remembers it. He looks good, right? So you have So he knows, obviously he needs a permanent structure, right? You need 4. So and nonetheless, guys, he's the one who brought the Maisa in the Mishnah. Guys, look at our Mishnah. Hayashan Tachas Amita Besukah Liatzi Dechavasa. Rabbi Yehuda Noigen Liyinu Shem Tachas Amita. The V'layom Amar of Shimon Maisa B'Tavi Avdoi. So who was the one who brought down the whole Maisa B'Tavi Avdoi? So Shimon. So you see that what? That even though Shimon holds that what? That a sukkah is a dirus keva, he does not mevatel the bed. He said it isn't good. He says it isn't good. He also needs a dirus keva. Yet the bed is a problem. Fred the Gemara Kasha. What? Fred the Gemara Kasha. For B'Shimon Dam sukkah dirus keva binen. V'yasa oaroi mevatel oil keva. And comes the bed and it's mevatel the sukkah. Says the Gemara. So b'ha pligi, that's machlokes. Masava oisi oil aroi mevatel oil keva. Reb Shimon holds that what an oil aroi can mevatel oil keva. Masava and Rabbi Yehuda says layas oil aroi mevatel oil keva. Okay, so very good. So what do we see? We saw the din a yashar sachas amita. It's not good. It's not good. Reb Shimon says it's not good. Reb Gamliel says it's not good. Why isn't it good? Because you have an oil that's being mafsik. We have a riff saying it's mitayr sukkah. Rami Brank has a problem with it. Okay, it's good. Right? Next, and we have Rabbi Yehuda. What's Rabbi Yehuda's svar, guys? Rabbi Yehuda's svar is that what? Like osi oil aroi keva, and then that's good for the machloikus between the Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda. The Tanakam Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, we bring in the Ma'aser B'Tavi Avdoi. Amar Rav Shimon, Ma'aser B'Tavi Avdoi. Tanya, Amar Rav Shimon, Misichase Shel Rabbi Gamliel Lamadnu. From the Sikhas of Rabbi Gamliel we learn Shnei Devarim. Now Misichase, beautiful lashon. Misichase, guys, look at Rashi. Lashon Sichas Chulin V'Simcha. Lashon Sichas Chulin V'Simcha. That the words in the Mishnah it said Devarenu. Over here it says the word what? It says the word Sicha. Is the brisa. So Misichas Shel Rabbi Gamliel Lamadnu Shnei Devarim Lamadnu. She'avodim B'Tur Min HaSukkah. Avodim apata from sukkah. Good. Okay, we'll get back to this in a second. So you learn 2 things. We learn 1 that an evid's part of sukkah, and 2 that you sleep underneath the mita. You're not good. Why do you have to go ahead and say sicha? Why do you say it from his words? Right? Sicha is mashma, guys, like stam talking. But mashen kain speaking before his mashma dibur. So Milsa Yover Kamash Kavan Kiyodam Rav Barada Bamilimilia Omer Rav Barada Rav Hamenuna Rav Minayin Shafil Sichas Talmid Chacham Tzrich Limud. How do you know the Sicha of Talmid Chacham is Limud Shnemar? First parak of Tilim Ba'oleo Lo and its leaves will not wither. Just like the leaves are the secondary parts of the tree being the Ikka, Eitz Chaim Milam Achasikim Ba, and the leaves being what? The ancillary. So to the Sicha of Talmid Chachamim compared to leaves, as opposed to the Devar of their words of Torah, evil, they won't wither. So therefore we say that why you should go ahead and Rabbeinu Chanal says the word Sichim, Ilana Sach Sichim, Chalsiach Hasoda, the same Lashon, Siach B'Siach. So therefore it'll be Geshmak. Now, if I wake you in the middle of the night, why are for the words of Rabbi Gamliel, you learn that an Evet's pata from a sukkah? That's not the reason Evet's pata from a sukkah. An Evet's pata from a sukkah because it's a mitzvah sesei shas man grama. Rabbi Gamliel's words didn't pata you from Evet. A woman's pata from a sukkah. Mitzvah sesei shas man grama. Yeah? An Evet is like a woman. So from the words of Rabbi Gamliel, you need a Rabbi Gamliel to tell you that what an Evet is pata from a sukkah. What's the havamina that an Evet's mechuyev in a sukkah? It's a mitzvah sesei shazman grama. Says Taisus, very important Taisus, guys. This second Taisus on the page. Lamadnu she'avodim b'turim in hasukkah. V'afagav the high mitzvah sesei shazman grama. Our question: it's the rechlash me'inon that he's pata. The leitema the chayovim mishum dechsiv teishvu ke'ein teduru. The sukkah is teishvu shivas yom, guys, right? Teishvu, you live in the sukkah, kain teduru, like you live in your house. So, you have a avodim in your house? Oh, why would you think that avodim come in the sukkah too? So you need a Rabbi Gamliel tell you, despite the fact that Shuv and Keduru, that even though it's the same on grandma, you're not Rabbi Gamliel's teaching with them. It's very nice Taisus. It's not even teaching can't do. Okay, let's do the next. Yep, it's early. Hasaymech sukkasei b'kroya mita. Now,
260.
yeah, take a look at the picture. 260, picture 260. right?
Third wall.
Actually, this looks like your type of sucker.
Hmm? Why can't it still-
Huh?
That's a-
No meaning.
Okay, anyway, see, you make the sukkah, the bed into a sukkah. This is John. Forget this. Sorry, guys. Okay, that is what kshera. Rabbi Yehuda oimem eni chayil lamei b'fnei atzma psula. If it can't stand by itself, it's puzzle. If it can't stand by itself, it's puzzle. Let's see the Gemara. My time, Rabbi Yehuda. Pligi bar Rav Zera Rav Abba bar Mamo. Chanam b'fnei she'ein la keva. It's metaltal. You're going to carry it. You're going to carry it. It's a kli. So you guys, listen. You know the Torah of Maimed. You have schach on top. What's holding the schach up? The kroyamita. If you would take away the kroyamita, the schach would fall down. So it comes out that the schach gets a din of being makabel tumah because the whole support is makabel tumah. Since the bed is makabel tumah and the support of the schach is the bed, right? Is the bed. Then what? Then you're going to say that what that it's also makabel tumah. So you have two pshatim. Ein lo kevim makabel tumah. I think Avram, your pshat, it might be they didn't make the picture, or it could be you're going to say there's like a some type of the bottom of the bed. You'll say good achas. You'll go okay. So now, my binaya. What would the difference be? Kigoin shenoat shipudim shel barzel. You go ahead, go to the ground, take 4 posts of a bed of iron, the sikach aleim, and you put schach on top of them. Lemanda amar lefi shein lo keva. That it's portable. Hariyesh lo keva. This is not portable. It's in one spot. You're being good. Okay, now listen to this. Amar Abaya, loy shonu. If you like Rabbi Yehuda, if you put schach on top of kriyamita, that's possible. Is elasamach. You put the schach on top of it, the bed. Aval sikach al gabe yamita. If you put schach over the mita, kshera. Take a look. What picture is it? 262.
Page 73.
Page 72. Now notice, what did you do, guys, over here? You have a bed, but the bed is not supporting the schach. You have 4 beams supporting the schach. You have 4 beams supporting the schach. So this would be good. Thank you very much. That's the question. Oh, it's the Kiddush. It seems pshita, right? It seems very pashut. I'll tell you, I saw a Ramban that answers this question, and he says a whole different shot than Rashi. Guys, Rashi is very shverlich. This is the picture here is a picture of Rashi. What's the Kiddush over here? You're sleeping in a bed. The sukkah, the schach's not on top of the bed. It's on top of posts. What's the Kiddush over here? So he says the following. That's what the Ramban says. He says, you know what a kroya meter, guys? Those are the feet of a bed, correct? You know what he learns pshat is? If you go ahead, you take the bed and you invert it. Now it's 10 tefachim, right? So when you invert the bed, do you have the share of a sukkah?
Yeah.
You have 10 tefachim, right? The bed, right? Mm-hmm. And now you're going ahead and putting the schach on top of the feet of the bed. Either of course it's kava or it's makabel tumah. It's no good. That's the way he learns that the Mishnah, when he says asamich sekosei bikroya mita meduyik moed, your samich schach on the kroya mita means the feet of the bed. Again, you're looking at a picture according to Rashi. I'm telling you the Ramban. You're looking at the picture book is Rashi. Rashi, there's a bomb kasha in Rashi. It was asked by Avrami Branka. The bomb kasha in Rashi is, I understand kroya mita is not good. You got the schach on the bed. It's keva. It's not keva, or it's swat. It's makabel tumah. Yeah, good. Now, what did you do? But if, says Abaya, you go ahead and put posts and you have bed. So it's like you're in a bed, sleeping in a sukkah. What's the chiddush? It's closer to the bed. You geyser up to the bed. I don't know. Says the Ramban like this. The first case is you invert the bed and you put the schach on the kroyamita. Well, that's makabel tumah, or that's not, or it's not keva. Good. What happens if you put the bed back? Then it's good. Then you're using the bed normally. And then it's good. But that's what he says. So now look at it. Look at the lashon. Rabbi, loy shanu that what elasamech al krayamita al sichach al gav hamita. If you put it on the mita itself, kshera, it will be kasha. In other words, what we assumed was puzzle in Rashi is kasha in the Ramban.
The Rambam teaches it's kosher.
Oh, my timer. Lamandam lefisha ein lakeva, hariyesh lakeva. The schach is kavua. Lamandam lefisha shamida bedav makabel tuma, hari ein mamida bedav makabel tuma. You're not being my mid davar. That's makabel tuma. So that's according to Ramban.